Hi, everybody. It's Rick Snider's Washington. Brought to you by Rick Snider's Washington. How about that? Live chat. So for the algorithm, I just say, so please subscribe, comment, hit the thanks button below you. It's like right there somewhere. All those things that the algorithm likes to hear. Like, share, subscribe, comment, and even say thanks. There you go. So now we're caught up. And I see Steve's there. Hey, Steve. Yeah, I'm actually 5 minutes early for once. Just finished doing a podcast. Move on to the next thing on this. And what else are we doing? So there's lots to talk about today. Ron Rivera made it pretty easy. Mike P, my cousin, is here. That means bad things. But luckily, another Michael, is here to watch over all you naughty people out there. Last week we did about 200 live and about another 400 watched on replay. So, hey, if you're coming back later, you can hit the thanks button too. Thanks buttons help support the program and especially me. Mike's got all the money, so I know he'll chip in. It's okay. He gets a family discount. Ball guy. All right, first question. Here we go. What do you think about Ron throwing Wentz under the bus? I give the over-under on that question 6 times tonight in the next hour or so because most people only watch about 15 minutes. So that's why it's going to get repeated over and over again. That's why I repeat the thanks thing over and over again for those of you. Or if you want to buy one of the books, we're selling them in 1s and 2s, man. They're flying off the shelves. But anyway, and Stealth says, I think people misunderstood about Wentz. Okay, to answer both questions kind of once, I don't think so in the end. I think it was very targeted what was said. I could see how you would say that, but I don't think so. Michael says, I think Ron can go have fun tonight, and I'll repeat that all night. Great. Thank you, moderator. So I was a little surprised he said that because the question was 2 years ago, the Washington Commanders were 7-9 and won a division, and everybody else stunk. So how come they're all pretty good now 2 years later, and you're not? And Rivera just went quarterback, and I almost fell out of my chair. I thought, wow, he just threw Carson under the bus. And you're the guy who brought Carson here. I mean, I think now the chances of Carson here next year are pretty slim, no matter who's coaching. But also on Carson's end, maybe when you hear something like that. I was surprised because that's not the reason that this team is where they are. There's a lot of reasons, and we'll talk about them all tonight. All right, so Pablo says, finishing 32nd overall is in our best interest, right? Well, I don't know. They don't have about 4 people watching this every night, but could you get the number 1 pick? Sure. And maybe some years the number 1 pick is worth it. Some years it's really not. You can find somebody else just as good down there. A lot of ones bust. So I think that comes down to quarterbacks we're going to talk about tonight. If Wentz is sitting at some point injured, whatever, who do you bring in? I'm going to say Hal because people already talking about you got to draft a quarterback next year. Well, wait a minute. What about Hal? Everybody loved him in August. I'd like to see what he could do first in a regular season game before you have to go spend a first-round pick on all this. So that's why I would take him over Heineke. Rufio, I think I heard that name before. Would you consider Scott Turner one of the worst offensive coordinators in the league? I think he's underperformed this year, like the team, and maybe that's one reason the team's underperforming. But I've been disappointed. I thought he would do better on some things. Now, that said, you're down 20 points early, a couple games already, and you have no real running game, and you have no offensive line. So, I mean, it's easy to make excuses. But what everybody, I think, in town is feeling is been listening to Ron's excuses for a while. He's begging for more time. And meanwhile, up the road, Philly and New York are tons better in a short period of time. So nobody wants to wait anymore. I don't blame them. Life's short, man. Dedicate the show to my friend Dave Loeb, who passed away this weekend. Who used to be a sports stat keeper all over town. And he worked at the Washington Times with me. And he did stats for Maryland sports. And Dave loved local sports. And unfortunately, he passed away this weekend. So rest in peace, Dave. I think people will remember you for a while. He had Loeb's Deli. So if you ever eat there downtown, that was Dave Loeb. So, that's why I don't get all beat up over all this either. All right. Good evening, Albert. Glad to see you here. Michael says you're going to need another quarterback because Wentz and Heineke would be gone. Heineke's got one more year on his contract, so I think they probably keep him. And it doesn't really cost anything to get rid of Carson next year, the way the contract goes. So this was a 1-year rental with an option to buy for 2 more, but it doesn't cost them if they don't. Stell says 179 yards for the leading rusher on the team. Yeah, I think it's going to be one of those years where they don't have a 1,000-yard rusher. A little surprised by Brian Robinson, but he only got a couple chances, really, and he didn't have anywhere to run. So I'm going to throw that out. Do I think Ron will go back to Carolina, says Outlaw King? No, because the owner, David Tepper, is different from the owner he worked for. Tepper fired him too, right? I think. But he didn't have the guy there before. So, no, I don't see that happening. I think Ron goes into TV or something whenever this ends. Let's see. Michael says they will have a 1,000-yard punter. Yeah, maybe. Although Trust had his worst day ever. He just didn't look very good Sunday. And I'm sure it's just a bad day. But he never has bad days. And the Channel 4 did a piece on him this morning about, oh, no, it was somebody else they were doing. Never mind. All right. Ball guy. Ron has had 2 ones, Cam and Alex, and 2, Carson Wentz, the tail of the tape. And what coach can get out of a guy. Well, Cam was great for a while. They went 15-1, went to a Super Bowl. Alex got them to playoffs. That was a gutty thing. And of course, Alex was just commenting on Ron's comments on Wentz, where he said, basically, my God, you threw him under the bus. And Alex is kind of bitter over being shown the door. Fairly, unfairly, I don't know. I understand why Alex is upset about how he left Washington, but I think Washington gave him every chance too. And let's remember, they paid him for 3 years, and he got hurt, and it was all legit. But if I was Alex, I would move on with my life. Is the stadium deal dead? Non-revisionist says. I was just asked this the other day by somebody. Let's just say if somebody else bought this team, I'd say they may have a chance to go back into DC. They'll find a place for them, but that's not happening. All indications are now the House committee that's been investigating all this. The leaks are looking like they're going to drop a report right before the November 8th elections, partly because they may lose control of the committee anyway. So, they're going to do it then. And what's going to happen to Dan Snyder? Nothing. All right. Maybe. I don't know what this report's going to say yet, though. It leaked out that Snyder's lawyers were the ones that leaked the John Gruden stuff. But in the end, you need 9 owners to back Dan for doing this. Oh, the Great Watubi's back, and he brought money. Thank you, Great Watubi. Oh, you should be like the Great Watubi. You can be the Great Michael and Great Non-Revisionist. I'll stop for a second and say Great Watubi's question was, I wish they'd paid Carter to stay. He's better than Dax. Way better returner. Absolutely right there. What I understand, Carter wanted to go back out in the West Coast and live where he's from. So, that's what happened there. We're talking about stadium stuff. So Virginia is sitting on their hands till at least 6 months from now. I don't think that happens. I don't see Washington really getting into it either. But if Jeff Bezos or somebody else bought this team, I think they could. Maryland's offer still out there to build $300 million around the thing, and Snyder's got a lot going on, so I don't think he can really commit yet. So the stadium's no time soon. I don't know if they'll get out of there by 2027. All right, Paolo, Rick, why does this coaching staff hate Gibson? They don't hate Gibson. Are they blowing the fumbling issue massively out of proportion? Well, he hadn't fumbled this year. Gibson is going to get a better role, I think. He's not a prime back. It never really was, but they just had to use him that way. He'll get more catches in space, I think, starting this week. And non-revisionist threw in a 5. Thank you, non-revisionist. I regret what I said about you. Sheldon T. Ron's trying to trade for McCaffrey to get more Carolina people on the roster. Yeah, sure. Okay. I don't think that's going to happen. Carnus Helton, let's roll with Howell, and draft Anderson Jr. could be the next Michael Parsons. Well, I'm all for another Michael Parsons. I thought they were going to get him, and Dallas got him before they could get him in the draft. Good player. Marvin's asking what's up. I'm Marvin. Why they didn't run it up the gut on the second 2 yard line? Because if they were afraid they didn't have time in case they didn't score, they may run out of time. So you were going to get 4 chances at the end zone if you passed, but you only have 2 if you ran and failed. And they only got 3 in the end because they blew it. Got me a hell of a play on the ball. Let's do put that in there. The receivers didn't do a lot of help in this situation. They were covered too much. But even if JD had caught the ball, he would have been on the 1. But losing that timeouts earlier, taking 12 seconds to get a timeout earlier, that killed them there. That killed their options down there. London says, I got some questions about the current establishment that nobody seems capable of answering. Well, it's probably me too, but go ahead. Outlaw King, if Ron is fired, what coaching candidates would you want as head coach? Well, I want Sean Payton, but he's not coming. I mean, let's be honest. Who wants to come here that's got some options? You're probably going to have your usual 6 to 8 openings around the league, and there's better places to go. And on the other hand, if you come here and fail, everybody says, well, that was Washington. It's like an excuse, get out of jail free card if you come here and fail, because everyone does. Do I think the front office would be reorganized? If Ron goes, yes. If Ron does stay, no. The Wobo, how are the Giants able to turn things around so far? Well, they got rid of a crummy coach who stunk, so that does help. Just like Jacksonville, got rid of an awful coach. It's amazing how these guys get jobs. So that helps. The Giants drafted very well. They picked well. You get a lot of picks, but you got to pick well. And Washington hasn't been able to do that as much. Ball guy kicked in money. Thanks, ball guy. I don't know. I wouldn't know what that's like. Most important decision for the Commanders this offseason. Will it be a dog or a hog? Yeah. I'd rather see a dog, but I kind of think it's going to be a hog. Great White to be thrown in here. More money. Can Wentz learn pocket presence this late? Probably not. And I don't think he has time to learn it the way this team's blocking. If I'm king of the team, what I'm going to do is put my line's going to be Charles Leno, move Sadiq Charles to left guard, sit Norwell down. Probably they move up. Now I can't remember his name. I should. The center who just got healthy. Somebody will type it in. He goes to center because this guy they just got stinks. I would move Cosme inside to guard. He's a guard. He's not a tackle, in my opinion. And then I would leave Cornelius Lucas on right tackle. And I think that's your best 5. You got to have your best 5, and Cornelius is one of their best 5. That's how I would redo the line. The mascot should be the bad end of a skunk, says Michael. Not that I'm bitter. Okay. Oh, Larson. Yes, Tyler Larson. Thank you, Silly Goose and Great White TV. And Joe, I knew you guys. Getting old, man. Sometimes they just stick in your head. You can't remember. I've said Larson's names at least 5 times today. And there you go. I get under pressure and choke. Somebody's calling me from Brookline, Massachusetts. Who knows who that is? All right. Probably somebody want to sell me a car warranty. All right. We're lucky we missed out on Russell Wilson. Yeah, probably. I mean, you never know where people are in different places, but probably. Especially that contract. Woo, that contract's a buster. Albert, I blame the coaching staff for lack of focus and discipline on the team. All the useless penalties have stalled more on one drive. Absolutely right there. And I don't think they're quite, stringing them up like Ron used to do with his players long ago. Still, Carolina's going to tank for the first pick. Well, first pick, second pick, I don't know. There's 2 good ball players there to help you most years. But it's been proven that, when they do 1 and 2 quarterbacks, 1-2, one of them will succeed and one won't. And about half the time, it's the one that doesn't. So it's a crapshoot. As long as you get a top 3, then you're picking top 3 every round, too. Is Ron throwing Wentz under the bus? See, I told you it's going to keep coming up. Ask Paul. Yeah, he kind of did, didn't he? I mean, there's no way around it. He kind of double-talked his way at times, but all of you saw what happened. So, you know the truth. Silly Goose, did Joe Gibbs ever meet Joe Paterno? What do they think of each other? I've never heard of that happening. Doesn't mean it didn't, but I've never heard of it happening. Great Rachubi throwing another deuce at me. Will you draft a quarterback or go with Hal? I want to see Hal this season. I think he has potential. He's not going to be the greatest ever, probably, but I think he might be okay. and that's okay. As long as you have okay. Well, listen, it's not like Carson isn't okay. He's okay. It's just they don't have the line for him, and Hal would at least have his legs to scramble around. Where Carson's problem is he's a statue. Paolo, I'm sorry. Are they underutilizing Terry? Yes. First, they fell in love with using Samuel for a while. They don't seem to be able to find him. I don't understand that at all. Gerald wants Jack and Coke back. All right, but it might be a little weird, I mean, he's been dead for, what has it been now, 20 years? Let's see, 97, 25. Think Washington will try and trade Brown for draft picks? Asked Paul. Nah. I mean, he showed some great stuff there. To me, my favorite part of the 75-yarder was he had to fight off the sun and catching that ball. That was a really great move. So I don't think they trade anybody, really. Brian, thank you, Brian. You chipped in 5. I appreciate it. You guys are going to actually have me eating steak this week. Thanks. I bet Rivera said Wentz is hurt. Wentz is on the injury report with a shoulder, but nobody talked about it. It just came out, and so maybe tomorrow we'll hear what that is. Non-revisionist, is Chase Young on track for return? Yeah, I don't know when. Not this week. Surely anybody who didn't play yesterday is not playing Thursday as a rule. I've hardly ever seen that happen otherwise. So I don't think anybody that they missed, like Logan Thomas, I don't think they'll be ready for this week either. So then you got 10 days. So after that, maybe that's when I would start to look for Chase, is when they come back against, I think it's Green Bay. I'm like players. You only kind of learn who's next game up. After a while, I lose track. Even if you put someone else in the game, the run game stinks, says Stealth. Yeah, well, I don't know. I think Brian Robinson could be something special, but you got to have blocking for him. Ryan, one thing I haven't liked during Ron's tenure is he hasn't kept his team interesting for fans. Yeah, I mean, Jay always had it going in December, but yeah, it's been a tough haul. When you start slowly every time, I don't like how Ron handles his preseasons. I don't think they're ready to go, and it's been costing them. Rivera's on the injury report with a bruised ego, says Michael. Ooh, there you go. Leave the comedy professionals, Michael. Let's see. Stealth says Wentz kind of hurt his shoulder on that block for Robinson. Oh, really? Okay. That was a nice block. He clocked the defender pretty good. Yeah, that was a good one. Silly Goose thrown in too. Thank you, Silly Goose. If you know where Mother Goose is, let me know. I need to talk to her. I saw somebody put a funny joke up there. You'd take a piece of paper and write, "I'm pregnant, call me," and put it on somebody's windshield. Can you imagine if you got that? I mean, wow, that'd be like, what? That's a good joke. Of course, somebody else had the joke about a broken car window and said that they had left 2 Commanders tickets on the dash and somebody broke the window and left 3 more. That's coming up. We got jokes. Paul, Taylor or Howe will be the quarterback Thursday? Well, I'm thinking it's Carson. Can they hire Jake Gruden back, says Tim Luckett. I bet he'd come back if they offered him the job. He's on the radio all the time here, being honest about stuff. Did I get my Wild Goose jersey yet? Great Watubia asked. Well, if you keep chipping in money, you never know. But I actually saw him make a play in the game yesterday. A good play, not a bad one. I'm spending more money on Wild Turkey than Wild Goose, says Steve. All right. Ooh, Wild Turkey, man. That's a little rough for me. Gerald, I'm just glad I experienced the good old years. Yeah, me too. That was when I started covering the team. I covered a couple Super Bowls, and life was good. Who knew it was all going to fall apart? Me too, including me. I wonder if Washington loses in Chicago this week, if Ron starts to feel the pressure. I asked Ryan. He already is feeling the pressure. Not that he cares. He has a guaranteed contract for all that money. And he can't be forced out by Snider. Okay, who are the top 3 athletes from the area? I asked the non-revisionist. Len Bias, Sugar Ray. Well, Sugar Ray was my 1. From the area means not Ovi, even though he played here. So Elgin Baylor would probably be 2. And 3, oh gosh, I don't know. Maybe Adrian Dantley. All right, Joe A. Wild Goose, that his real name? I understand. So yeah, the NFL doesn't let you use aliases. Matthew, last 3 players could have all been picked. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, man, that was just a craziness, wasn't it? All right, so Let's see. Gerald says, right you are, Gerald. Great Watubi. Next year, get rid of Jackson and Fuller. Yeah, well, I think Jackson's gone. I mean, you change coaches, you never know, but I would think Jackson's going to be gone, being pulled from the game. And they said, oh, maybe he's hurt, maybe he's playing. We're not saying he's on the injury, not on the injury report today. So I don't know what to say about that. Slam and Jamin's back. There you go. Time to fire Ron immediately. I don't really see doing it immediately. It doesn't do any good. Who do you want to be the head coach? Del Rio or Scott Turner? Not bringing somebody in. Pepper Rogers passed away last year, so that's not happening. Gerald says, have a good night. Gerald, you're not leaving me already, are you? What, is something good on TV? Football game's coming on. Gerald, come on now. Stay there. Just watch this and put the game without sound on. All right. Can we bring back Bacardi Rambo? I don't think so on that one. Did you notice that Junior Gillette got arrested for riding a scooter and giving the cop a hard time and all that? It was in the paper. Junior suing the league and being his own lawyer too. Good luck, buddy. He had a tough break here. I mean, getting hurt a couple times. All right. If Ron's fired, who the head coach was? Byron Leftwich would be one. Yeah, he would be one. I don't know if he takes it, Ryan, but maybe. A good GM would be intriguing. Yeah, I mean, Martin, I think, has done an okay job. Drafts have been okay, but, if Ron goes, he's probably gone. Ball guy, controversial question. Ooh, do you think Ron, the Commanders, going to Big 100 has allowed WJFK to be more critical? No, I mean, I work for WJFK too. We do the same thing we always do. We gang up on people that lose games kind of thing. I mean, what are we supposed to do? Sing songs about their great, return game or something? Did I like Andy Reid on the State Farm TV ad? Asked Paul. I don't know. Let's ask him. Andy, I heard you do commercials now. You bet, big boy. I'm doing money. Banking that money. State Farm money. Wow. Okay, Andy. I had no idea you were on TV like that. Yeah, making big money. All right. Well, you got a game to do, man. I'll talk to you later. Hey, Andy. He's always trying to come on the show. Let's see. Who's going to come here slamming jamming? Somebody looking for a job. Paolo, assuming Sweater Payne would both be interested in staying long term, who do you keep? Woo! Well, if it's Payne, wow. Sweat has a more upside of. I mean, he had a great first half. That's a good one. I'd say he's. I don't know, man. I could see keeping either one. I like Payne. But Sweat can be awesome too. Tim says, sad thing is the best team under Snider was 99, right before he had time to mess anything up. Yeah, and then he messed it all up. Great Watubi. Do you think Ron sees the chat box on the pressers? I know Ron kind of watches some things, Great Watubi. He notices things. Says he doesn't. All coaches say they don't, but they do. I mean, he's not on here. It's not, Rufio. Rufio is not Ron, I don't think. So I don't think he's chatting away with us. But he notices what's on out there. And that's fine. Whatever. I'm older than he is now, so I don't have to take, guff from anybody. Albert, I've been a Washington fan ever since the Kilmer days. Yeah, me too. I love Billy. Got to know him personally. Great guy. Billy drinks his ice over beer, his beer over ice. Can you imagine? I used to have dinner with him. Like, Billy, what are you doing? So, Billy and Sonny, A1 guys to hang out with. More so than Rigo. Rufio says he might be Ron. Oh, Rufio, I don't know, man. Let me look closer. I don't think so. All right, well, if you are, then you got us. What can I tell you? It says my connection's unstable. It's not alone. Okay. Oh, I did awful on my picks last week, by the way. 4, 9, and 1 going into tonight. So I may not have a shirt on again. I'm going to lose my shirt in the next betting segment this weekend. Stay tuned for that. If you want to chip in money that I don't take my shirt off, that's fine too. I'd probably make more that way. I thought I was going to do an OnlyFans thing until I found out what that was about. I wondered why they wanted me to take my shirt off. All right, well, you see the big open heart scars. That'll make people stop doing that. Anybody had open heart out there? I can tell you, big scar. Had it. Were there more Titan fans at the stadium? Paul asked. Only a few thousand. Not too many. Maybe 2,000, 3,000. It was about low 40s overall at the game. Great. Watubi's been a fan since the Dolphins Super Bowl. Yeah, great. Yeah, I watched that game with my dad. It was the only football game I think he ever watched. He thought football was stupid. So he was a baseball guy. We watched that together. That was wild. All right, Paulo. Who will be wearing ugly uniforms on Thursday? Bears in orange or the Commanders? Orange. Orange is I'll say the Commanders look okay, although I've not heard what they're wearing. I like the burgundy. I don't like the black. And the white's okay. White's white. Ball guy, would you agree, despite the record, the home team fans of FedEx are more enthusiastic than the previous 2 years? Yes, I will say that. The people have seen there's a lot of new blood with the Commanders thing. So I would agree with that. Michael saw Sammy Ball play. Liar. All right. I mean, I don't think so. You better be really old. Great Watubi paid $5 to keep my shirt on. There you go, Great Watubi. You know, Joe Castles just put a couple bucks in from San Antonio. Thank you. So, okay, I'll keep my shirt on if you pay money. How about that? I'll probably get rich off that one. Scott said this team keeps breaking his heart. Yeah. I mean, I was seeing one of my doctors, nothing serious this time. But, you know, we're going over something. He goes, hey, man, I just had Brian Robinson on my fantasy team. Should I play him this week? I thought, yeah. So, you know, I think he'll survive. And how about me? I get this all the time. All the time. Can't get away from it. Even my own family and everything. Not my immediate family. They know we don't care. My wife and daughters don't care about football. Well, my cousins, or you know, one of them's on here. My cousins will text me, or they'll ask me when they see me, because I'm the only guy they know inside with the team. What the 9 says, the whole staff's got to go. Well, if they go, they're all going to go. That's for sure. And it's not like the record's been worth it. All right, non-revisionist. What is Jason Wright's actual duties? He's the money guy. He's not a football guy. He's the money guy. He's about trying to sell tickets, and they are selling more tickets. About trying to entertain fans. They're doing some new things. You know, the band, all that kind of stuff. The cheerleaders are basically like last ones, but they're dressed much more conservatively on there, and they don't do quite as much as the other ones did. But it's still out there going sis boom ba rah rah things. All right, Tim Leggett, what is a commander? I'm not sure they even know. Well, we all know that's a naval officer who's like in charge of the boat. Number 2, if I have that correct. All right, so when is Dan Snyder coming back to the team? Asked Outlaw. Well, I don't know. That's a good question. I mean, he still gets to do what he wants to do, but he gets to stay out of sight this way too. So I don't know. We'll see what happens in November if the House drops that committee. Hearing information and whatever they have to say. If it's real bad, maybe he gets suspended. If he doesn't, then maybe they just end this and he comes back. The time for the bagheads to come out. If you ask Paul, if you watch my podcast, it's only 15 minutes here on YouTube with my buddy Matt, and one will be up after this show. One's on Wednesday night. Matt's background is the bagheads. So Seasons of Discontent. You can watch that. Make Jennifer King the interim head coach, says Marvin. She'd probably do a good job. I watched her out there. She works hard with the running backs. Michael, the problem is Dan Snyder has no idea how to hire the right people. Correct. Or get out of their way. Correct. Cook did that. Now, if you screwed up, Cook was going to fire you. But, I mean, George Preston Marshall was very intrusive on ones. He had a coach quit because George Preston Marshall saw a player drinking, not during the game, but he wanted the coach to fine him, and the coach wouldn't do it and quit over it all. I mean, that kind of stuff. What's the team's backup plan if the entire stadium is filled with Dallas Blue? Asked Paolo. Then they're going to cash. They're going to sell them more beer and make more money, probably. Hey, money's money. That's what they have a fairness of. We'll take anybody's dough. ZZ, another failed season. Well, not quite yet, ZZ. You got to give it another month, and then you can say that. All we hope is Snyder gets outed by one of his peers. Well, that's the big hope right now. Silly Goose says, what's one of your 100 things in your book? How to make money selling books. No, I'm telling you, Silly Goose. I talk a lot about Sam Huff. There's one. A lot of great stories about Sam. So in the new revised edition, there's 5 new chapters from the old book that weren't in the old book. Like Alex Smith's injury and Ron coming back from cancer, and the COVID game. I really think the COVID game last year wrecked their chances for the playoffs because they had to go up to Philly, that Tuesday game, and then they had a halftime lead, but the players ran out of energy. So many came back from COVID, they just gassed out, and then that lost. Then you had to go to Dallas a few days later, lost, and that was it. So I think that's all in the book. Joe says, I don't like the location of the band. It's tough to see them. Yeah, but they've been there for a while. You got to hear them more than see them. They seem to be lower in the end zone. Yeah, at RFK, you could see them easily, but you can't hear them as well. That's the other part. They're only 60 players instead of, or performers, than it used to be 120. And so the noise level itself is lacking on this. They need to, I don't know, pump it up somehow. The drums are nice, and they run around the stadium a lot playing drums. ZZ, given your experience at FedEx, what's the overall difference in any in the vibe of the stadium 2022 versus 10 or 20 years ago? I think, 20 years ago, the people were still optimistic. They were still living off the Super Bowl era. 2012, is that the sniper year? Weird. It was a weird thing being at the games when the sniper was out there. And the quarterback at the time, I think it was Ramsey, was like sure the guy was going to try and shoot a Redskin. They had motion cameras around Redskin Park in the woods there during the sniper because they were afraid that he was going to try and come shoot a football player. And so it did bother them some. We were all a little paranoid back then. Remember that. Two of the writers were in situations where the sniper is either just left, driving out of Redskin Park, go home, stop to get gas. Was gone 5 minutes before the sniper shot someone there. My partner was at Home Depot when somebody was shot outside. I had just come back from a heart attack, and I figured God wasn't going to kill me by a sniper if he didn't take me as a heart attack. So I'm still telling fans to be fans of Washington, Mr. Liberty. If you're a native Washingtonian, you should be proud of your hometown and root for your local teams. What are you going to do? Go root for Dallas? So, being a fan's not easy. That's what being a fan's about. Good and bad times. Any options getting off O-line help during free agency? Asked Stewie. I'm sure, but right now it's too early to say. Mr. Liberty, you're a bad boy saying that. Okay, Rufio. Yeah, he also remembers the sniper. Yeah, the sniper is wild. There's actually a whole memorial to the victims of that in Montgomery County at a nice park. They have all the names and everything. I came across it one day. It's Garden's place. It was really cool. Tim said they should have made the black camo outfit to match the commander's name. I don't think the burgundy and gold match the name anymore. There's some truth to that. I think people are feeling that, especially the black uniform made people feel that way. Cap says Alex Smith just dropped some fire on Ron. Yeah, because, they players stick together too, but he's probably right. Silly Goose. Who's better, Led Zeppelin or the Rolling Stones? No, Zeppelin. I'm not a big Stones guy. I didn't really, Jumpin' Jack Flash is a gas, but I was not a Stones guy. I would go more Zeppelin. Who's worse, Gruden or Rivera? Asked Mutib Khan. Well, at this point, I'll say Rivera. Jay was a little loosey-goosey on some things, but he won games. Marvin, and he won games with not any more talent than they have now. Why are there so many Washingtonian Dallas fans? Asked Marvin. That goes back a long ways for a lot of reasons. But one of them is if you just want to root against your whole family watching the game, you want to be that guy. There's a lot of Dallas fans because of that. That's one reason. Come back next week, I'll tell you another reason. All right. What did Alex say about Ron? Asked Rufio. He basically said he threw Wentz under the bus by talking the way he did today about it. Steve likes the Stones. I have to now second guess your judgment, but okay. Mr. Liberty, the sad thing is when Ron gets fired, Dan's going to hire another yes man. Yeah, maybe. I've seen it come and go. Did I ever do a White House tour? Paul asked. Well, if you mean, do I go walk in? Yes, but I can't give them on there. Just talking. I met somebody today who does the Christmas tree. He's going to do it after Thanksgiving. He does the decorating for it. It was pretty cool. He's telling me stories about the White House. All right, Eric. I will forever support my DC teams no matter what. Correct. And he lives in Atlanta now. So I always say if you move to another city, you can become a fan of that team to be a local. I don't begrudge you. But you can also stay your loyal. So especially with TV now, you can still watch games. Is Washington ever going to do a London game in non-revisionist status? Well, they did one. What was it, about 5 years ago? They tied Cincinnati. Hey, if they get two London teams out there, sure they will. I'll bet they'll come around maybe next year, or well, I don't know next year, but in coming years. Rufio's living in Oregon. Wow, I just met a couple from Oregon too. They were really nice people. Let's see. If you're in Oregon, you can both. If you could be a free agent, I guess, on there. You can't like Seattle, so look south to San Francisco. I know geography. I've been to Oregon, barely, but I have been there. I was in Idaho, across the line, stood next to the sign, "Welcome to Oregon," turned around, went back. So I've done that a few states. I've been to 45 states, so I'm trying to see them all, but COVID slowed me down. But I'll get to the last five, which are Alaska and Hawaii, of course. Vermont, for some stupid reason, I've never been in Vermont. I've driven by it, and Nebraska and Iowa, which I'm one day going to fly in the airport or on the border, go see two of them on there. Been to 21 countries too. I like to travel, and I'm getting semi-retired now, so maybe next year thinking about hitting the road again. That's one of the great things about being a sports writer is you get to be on the road a lot if you like that. But once you've been everywhere 10 times, it gets a little old on there. All right, let's see. I caught up to you guys. Oh, Rufio, here you go. Oh, Rufio's been to Hawaii. Yeah, one of these days I'll have to ask everybody where to go. Silly Goose has been to Iowa and drove through Nebraska. See, there you go. You're up on me there. If you don't have an NFL team, I may not have been in your place, but I've been to some non-NFL states too. Not blue states, red states. To me, they're football states or non-NFL states. That's where I did a lot of my traveling, among all the things. But yeah, being a sports writer is great because I got to go see the team playing in Japan. I covered the Osaka game, and I saw Japan, and I didn't pay a penny out of my own pocket. You can't beat that. Rode with the team playing that game. Rode with the players and cheerleaders and all that. And it was a 17-hour flight each way. But, hey, I didn't have to worry about anything. It was awesome. And then I had a heart attack 2 weeks later. So survived that at Redskin Park. Non-revisionist, how good do you think the Terps football team is? Yeah. All right, we've got a Terps question. And I am a Terp alum. I thought they could have won that game the other day. So were they 4-2? I think they're going to win about 8 games. It's still hard for them to, beat the Ohio States of the world, but they can still be good. And I think they finally have the recruits that the coach has been chasing for the last few years. They're finally playing. So Loxley has been a good recruiter. Can't wait for the Commanders-Bears pick Thursday night, Paul says, when you're not going to like it, but okay. So like I said, there's a report from Casterly that Washington was close to trading for John Elway. I'll have to talk to Charlie about that. I've never really heard that one. But if Charlie says it, it's true. All right, Hashim. FedEx is consistently by many to offer one of the worst fan experiences. What's your favorite NFL stadium, favorite for any sport? Ooh, yeah, well, I love Churchill Downs. I've covered 20 derbies, and I love Churchill Downs for Derby Day. But I know that's a non-traditional pick. And Orioles Park, up there is a wonderful stadium. You feel like home wherever you are there. I love that. I don't go very often, but it's cool. The Oakland Coliseum was the worst place I ever visited. Not even close on there. Is there any way a team could have a new throwback uniform to honor the past, says Joe? Yeah, absolutely. But I don't know when that'll be. They're not going to want to do it anytime soon. Maybe 5-10 years from now, they might do it. Steve, thank you, Steve. You're throwing in some money. Is there one article you've written that you're most proud of, or do they all just kind of run together? Mostly. I like that I wrote the articles about Snider was getting the team out. Milstein wasn't. I was real proud of that time. I wrote a piece about thoroughbreds in the Dakotas, an Indian reservation. I really enjoyed doing that story. I went out to the Dakotas and met the Indians, and the racehorses were retired out there. It was a fun experience because they just used the uniform with the R and the circle. I don't think you'll ever see the feathers or the Native American imagery or any of that again. I don't think we'll ever see any of that. Do I like NCAA basketball? Great, why Chuby asked. Oh, you grew to NC. You went to NC State. Well, I'm a Maryland guy. I'm sure Valvano years. Yeah, that was probably fun. I covered the ACC basketball a couple of different stints, and it was great. I miss the ACC. Would much rather be there than the Big Ten. I don't care how much money he pays what. Paul says the best horse racetrack, Churchill. By far. Belmont's pretty cool. It's so big, but it feels empty at times. Maryland, Maryland's just local worn down places on there. I've been to about 20 racetracks. The old Gulfstream Park where you could see the ocean all was really great. I enjoyed that one too. Santa Anita, not bad. That's kind of a nice place too. Saratoga, is an awesome place to go if you like horse racing. All right, let's see. Was there a kick return or battle in training camp this year? Dre asked. No, they did. They just sort of kind of went to Milne, but it wasn't a battle at all. And I think they regret that a little. Rufio he says Silly Goose was right. Thank you. On there. Well, you guys are kicking in the money. I appreciate it. The thanks button for those of you new here. You look down below, you see a thanks button. It's like a tip jar. There's a guy named Rick Snider who sings on YouTube. He's a country singer from Canada. He kind of looks like he could be my brother. He's a little younger than me. He's got longer hair like I used to when I was young. But he sings country songs and he has a tip jar and he sings songs for people. His name is spelled just like me. It's the weirdest thing. Let's see. Non-revisionist. Any idea on potential ownership group that could be in play if the team becomes available? I hear stuff, but I don't pay attention to it much because it's not going for a while. Oh, I've been to Yonkers too, Rufio. Long time ago in the 80s. That was a nice track. Let's see. Silly goes, if you caught Aaron Judge's 60-second home run ball, would you sell it or give it back? Oh, I'd sell it. I mean, Judge has got enough. Judge got more money than God, like they say. If he'd sell, I'd sell it to Judge first if he wanted to do it. Well, he probably won't, but I would. You can't give up that ball. It's worth a couple $1 million probably. That's what they say. I'm not giving that back for what? Signed autograph? I don't think so. Ball guy, isn't it fascinating how Washington, yes, I say Washington because I'm a 6th generation Washingtonian, has abandoned all the Native American imagery in the fight song, yet Kansas City thrives on it. Totally unfair. Totally unfair. I don't get that either. Maybe I know that they're trying to make them stop too. The protests have gone that way, but don't seem to have any traction yet. Did I ever have a mullet? Steve asked. No, did not. Had crew cut. Hated it too. My mom made me get it every year back in the 60s. But then I had hair down to my shoulders in the 70s. One of the hippies. So believe it or not. So let's see. Joe, wish we had a Brandon Banks. Isn't Brandon still playing in CFL? I saw. Or kept DeAndre Carter. Yeah, I think it was Carter's decision to move out west where he was from. So, hey, that's what free agency is for. You get the chance to choose where you want to work, too. It does go that way. Okay, Diami, or is it Diami? It's Diami, I think. That's what I say. It's Diami. All right, Paul Green. Did I ever talk to Lefty? Yeah, I still talk to Lefty once in a while. Covered him. Lefty and my father, clones. Same. My dad was from Carolina, 6'5", horseshoe bald like that too. Talk like Lefty. Wow, I know. So, I love Lefty. He was a great guy. He screwed up the Len Bias thing in the end, trying to protect Lenny's image. But he did it out of love. And I liked Lefty a lot. Hasim, Braves thrive on Native American imagery as well. Yeah. Still pounding the drum. Yeah. in Florida State, Silly Goose, yeah. There are teams that do it. It's just Dan Snyder was set up in the cancer culture, and because of other things, it was a perfect storm that hit it. If it happened today, I'm not sure that he would have done it. How much do I think Chase will have an impact when he's back? Asked Brendan. Oh, some, but not. I don't think he's not going to go out there and get 10 sacks and change things. Won't hurt, but I don't know. That's a great question about that. Scott was saying, with friends with Frank Herzog. Everybody is friends with Frank Herzog. He didn't have an enemy in the world. Great guy. Lives in Carolina. As I saw him, was it Sam Huff's funeral, I think. And Frank, great guy. N64 dog. Okay. Hey, Rick, I just want to say hi. say I want you guys to win this Thursday, ooh, it's got to be a Bears fan. But I say kill the Packers after the Bears. Okay. Chicago hates Green Bay. I hear that rivalry is bigger than the Cowboys Redskins one's over. That's over. I hate to tell you guys this, but it's over. But the Bears and Packers, man, I have a young friend who's a Bears fan. I'm going to call him this week and give him a hard time. Silly Goose, was Earl Weaver as big of as the umpires as he was portrayed? Yes, he was. Yes, he was. It didn't give me a hard time at all. I really wasn't around for Earl, but I watched him a lot as a kid. Aaron says he owned y'all, Rufio says. He doesn't say that. It might be true, although they beat him there before. Washington's won that game over Aaron. And the Packers are not as good as they were. Let's see. MTH666. Okay, getting your Halloween. Ever sneeze so hard that I did something? No, I don't think so. Brendan, any head coaching candidates to catch your eye around the league? Oh, ask me again in January. Sure, there's plenty of them. Seems like all the good candidates anymore used to be here. That's the interesting part. I knew Kevin up in up Minnesota. I knew he'd do well. He was just like Sean McVay, just a little older. They're so much alike. And Sean McVay, we knew was going to be a head coach somewhere. A little surprised at 30, but sharp guys, you can tell. All right, what's today? Parsons. Why did Gary Williams decide to leave Maryland? I think the recruiting, I think, was the biggest hard part of it. And he didn't want to be around for when this nowadays where they're paying players and changes everything what's going on in basketball. Who's my pick? Washington or Chicago? Asked Great White Tubi. I'll tell you on Thursday. I don't want to kill my. You got to watch the video. Well, okay. Wish they kept Kevin O'Connell. Yeah, I mean Kevin was great, Rufio. I liked him a lot. He would have been an interesting pick here too. All right, so TRXNDE, whatever that is, loves the content. Thank you. Wish Ron would take accountability. Not going to happen on that. Rufio, Kevin made Haskins look decent, and that was hard to do. Yeah, man, poor Haskins. That was just so sad. Whenever you see a young man die like this. Great Watubi. It's a pick'em game now. It was Washington by 1. I like pick'ems. Good. Then no cheating. Just who you like. Was everybody good on that Jay Gruden or Mike's staff? It was mostly Mike's staff, Marvin. Mike had a lot of guys who were good. Marcel. Ooh, that was my dad's middle name, Marcel. We always teased him about it. He didn't like it. Do you think Scott Turner play calling in key situations is not up to par? I would agree with that. It's not. They moved him back up in the booth in the quiet and controlled area on there to help, but I didn't help this week. Snyder can't control young minds, Michael says. Yeah. All right, ball guy kicked in something. Battle of Bladensburg, underrated or overrated? Ooh, that's a good one. That's where the British came by, and then they fought 500 militiamen and ran past them and burned the capital, part of the War of 1812. There's a big monument there now still. My dad's buried right there nearby. Underrated because nobody really knows about it. And basically, that battle allowed the British to come through Washington and burn it. So it's the only time a foreign army's ever gotten in our border. So Civil War came close. But so I would say definitely. And they deserve to keep that memorial there. It's been people wanting to take it down. No, I think it's cool like it is. All right, Silly Goose. Do you think Tanya was all right, I'm not going to talk about that one because I don't know anything. That's their business about her. Bad Goose. Hasim, I feel like Jordan Williams leaving early was a big part of Gary stepping. Yeah, I think part of that was there. But Gary lost his great recruiters. And I think he just got tired. AAU was starting to get involved now, and everybody wanted money. And there were players that went to other teams because their AAU coach suddenly was a coach on that college team. Gary didn't want to deal with all this anymore. I don't blame him. And he did what he wanted to do. Saw him a couple of years ago, I guess. And he seems happy. So, and physically he's in his 70s, and he's about 74 now. I think he's just glad to be done, like me. Joe, best NFL on CBS play-by-play guy. The best on Fox. I like Troy and Buck's boy, Joe Buck. I like them. I don't care. I know everybody doesn't, but whatever. Michael, you're saying bad things again. Scott, how do you see Sean Taylor's career playing as alive? Probably would have played till he was 35, would have been in the Hall of Fame. If he didn't get hurt. Guys who hit that hard tend to get hurt, like LeVar, like that. LaRon Landry. Sean got hurt right before he died. There's so much energy bouncing off each other. It's hard. Nobody could sweat like Gary Williams, says Steve. Yeah, man, he could sweat. Gary. Well, I can too. Put me in that situation, it'd be a good sweat off. I think Terry would like to see Taylor at quarterback. No, because I think Taylor got him bell rung too much. Terry got his bell rung too much with them. Doesn't happen as much with Carson. Does Washington win 5 games this year? Asked Brad. That's probably the over/under, isn't it? Let's see. That means they got to win 4. What we have? 12 games left. So they have to go 4-8. Okay, I'll go 5 wins on that. Michael's talking about Alvin Walton. I don't know why. No. Man, I answer everybody's questions on this, and we're down a few people. Luckily, this isn't 5,000 people in there. I'd never be able to do all these questions. But then again, it'd be nice to have 5,000 people. If this team's any good, we'll have triple the people. I remember the good old days. A lot more. Now we're down to the hardcore. Paul, there's time you get to make some decisions about the team. Yeah, I think she relies on a lot of advice, but she's a smart person. So I'm sure she makes some, but probably not the big ones. Ron makes the big ones. You have to have good targets to get your bell rung, says Sheldon. Yeah. Getting your bell rung is no fun, though. That happened to me a couple times playing ball. Guys that get hit. Oh, yeah. Alvin was one of those guys that got hit hard and didn't last a long time. Philly could have a higher pick than Washington, says Philly. Goes, yeah, it's true, because they got the Saints #1 plus their own. So, yeah, that's scary. They drafted well. They draft 2 more well. Woo! Tanya picked a uniform, says Michael. Well, she certainly had input into them. Several people did on there. But, Tanya's got a sense of style that beats most of us. So I'm sure she had the major input. When you go, here's my commercial. When you go to America's Hero, actually it's a barbecue place, Mission Barbecue. Awesome place. If you ever get to go to Mission Barbecue, I think it's the best chain of barbecues. Now, you go to Independence in Southern Maryland, got plenty of great independent ones. But for a chain, Mission Barbecue is really great. And if you buy these big old cups, they give extra money to veterans causes. They really are all in there. So support them. That's a non-paid advertisement. Paul asked, could Tanya fire Ron? Technically, yes. So I guess I have to say yes. Rufio, I wouldn't say any of that. I'm not getting into that. Balga, what am I drinking? Just unsweetened tea. Nothing special. If I start drinking, I really won't be able to do this show. What players from the Gibbs Super Bowl years are you in contact with today? I hear from all of them in passing. Daryl, Brian, Charles Mann. I have to think about it. I don't hang out with old ball players much, but we say hi to each other when we see each other. If they recognize me, 30 years ago, like Doug Williams didn't recognize me after many years. I said, well, we were both younger then. I had hair. So I'll get it. Brad G. says Ron's on the hot seat. We talked about it every 10 minutes here, I think. No, not at this point. It should be, but no. Paul, why didn't Riggins miss a few years before he came back? I'm not quite sure what that means. Riggo did sit out a year because he was Riggo. Then he was bored, broken back. One of the great lines when he came back said, who would you like to see call Nats games after Bob Carpenter? Well, Grant Paulson. That's his dream job, Hasim. He wants to do baseball play-by-play. I hope Grant can do it. I've known Grant since he was 10. I think he'd probably do a great job for them. So Grant Paulson for the next guy after Bob Carpenter. He knows baseball real well. I know baseball well, but Grant really knows baseball. I'm not a stat guy like that. Why did Riggins miss? Well, he only missed a year, Paul. Why Riggins missed it? He was a contract dispute and just sat out for a year. That was basically it. So sometimes old ball players, they take a year off. Like Trent Williams was one of them too, in a way, in his 30s, and now they have a better career because their body got to heal up. Especially these guys have been playing since they were 14 or younger. Now you get to be 30, your body's beat to all. If you take a year off, it really does help some of them. Help Riggo. Did I prefer Commanders over Red Wolves? Didn't like either. Brad? Didn't like Red Wolves. Just didn't see the connection. Wanted the Sentinels out of Arlington National Cemetery, at least. Something like that. Something to do with the city more. Commanders, nobody likes this. It's apparent. But you got to live with it. It's strange to know former legacy player or coach before or during the Snider reign of terror has ever publicly called the ownership out as the reason for the failure, says the silly goose. Yeah, I think most of them just decide to mind their own business and not get caught up in this stuff. Yeah. Do I hang out at Commander's practice field and how the players feel about losses? Asked Paul. Occasionally, I'm at practice. I'm going to try and go tomorrow, actually. But my job now as a columnist, I don't have to see them practice every day. I've seen a million practices. But at this point in my end of my career, I don't have to go all the time. And this time of year during the season, they only let the media see about 20 minutes of practice, and it's a lot of stretching and light drills. And they shoot some B-roll video for TV, and then you don't see anything else. Once training camp preseason ends, you don't see the good stuff. The Washington Benedict Arnold, says Michael. I asked Michael what he's drinking. Benedict Arnold was one of the Sons of Liberty. Who knew that? I actually teach history to kids online. Benedict Arnold was one of the Sons of Liberty, part of that Boston Tea Party. And then he turned redcoat on us. Got away with it. Jerk. Joe, I heard the team bought a Washington Commanders trademark around the same time the summer of 2020 that the bogus naming contest started. True or not? I would say not. But certainly it was one of they trademarked a bunch of them just to try and keep squatters away from the names. But they wanted Warriors, but then they decided they couldn't do the Indian thing. And I think the Wolves was kind of knocked out for that reason too, about Wolves and the Indian imagery connections and stuff. Better returner, Millen or Theismann? Theismann. Theismann was a good athlete, Steve. Paul, how many wins does Ron have to keep his job? I think you gotta win 5. I mean, 4, that's a lot of explaining to do about why you went 4-13 after 3 years. Fans have cashed out already. There's very few fans that really back Ron anymore. So I don't see. He's got to win a few. How much of the fan base is really gone? Asked Scott. From the RFK days, probably 3/4, partly because they aged out. I mean, if you were like 50 at RFK, that's 25, 30 years ago, you're getting older. And, so I'm not saying you're dead because I don't want to talk about people being dead by then, but because I'm not, I'm in my 60s. But yeah, 3/4 of those days from when Dan came, a lot too. I mean, they've lost a lot of people. I'd say of the 50,000 people that were there 10 years ago, maybe 10 to 15,000 of those people are still there. That's a good question. I've never really thought about that. Can I name 3 positive achievements under Dan Snyder's ownership? Paul Guy asked. Well, they do a lot of charity work around town, a lot of charity work. The Children's Hospital, a lot of money fundraised. Individual fans like Chief Z. Dan Snyder paid for Chief Z's funeral. They don't talk about it, but Dan's paid and helped out a lot of people. And they donate a lot of things to the community. Like before the season started, they gave out book bags filled with stuff for kids to go to school. Thanksgiving, Christmas, they're giving out food. That's winning off the field, I know, but it's still helping people who need help. Other than that, on the field, nothing. Let's see. And man, fans are nowhere to be seen. True. I mean, they're just. If they start winning again, they'll be back to a degree. to a degree, but not all of them. Rufio, Dan will never sell a team unless forced out. True. It did talk. He wants to leave it to his kids and let them be the next generation. So, yeah. Cap, used to love Darryl Green running down the NFL. We'll never see anything like him again. Yeah, not too many people as fast as Darryl was. I mean, Darryl was lightning. And you got a great feel for Darryl, how quick he was. He'd stand next to me, and then he would run down the field or something, and just like the space shuttle just took off. It was amazing. Paul asked, did the Georgetown trolley get rid of the trolley cars, replace them with buses? I think so, because that's all I've seen anymore is the buses that look like trolley cars. I haven't seen the duck boats either this year. And, of course, we didn't see anything for 2 years. See a lot more tourists in town in the last month than I've seen in the pandemic. I mean, I went on tour 3 times last week. That's the most in 1 week I've done in 3 years because of the pandemic. I did 77,000 steps last week. So there you go. Didn't lose an ounce, probably. Is it better to let the house burn at this point? Ando Man asked. I never like watching houses burn down. So, we got a few minutes left. For those of you who haven't kicked into the tip jar fund called the thanks button, a lot of you have. Thank you so much for that. Some of you more. Or you can buy one of the books. People still do. I will sign them for you. You can buy them on Amazon and give Jeff Bezos your money, but you're not getting me to sign it. But if you go to Monumental Thoughts and order it, I will sign it for you. Okay, let's see. Brad says, is Wentz finished the season as a starter? I say no, but I don't think it's anytime soon that they're changing, as long as he's healthy. The team needs to know who will keep beyond this season. I don't know. Who else? Who's coaching them, and that's going to decide who keeps who. Best bike trails in Charles County, that's kind of Sprute. 2 of them. One is the Indian Head Trail, goes from like Waldorf down to Indian Head. It's good, nice bike trail. I've been on it. And there's one that goes down to the St. Mary's line where my new house will be. And so you can wave to me. That's a nice one, too. My son-in-law works at Bike Doctor. If you need a bike, come to Waldorf. It's now called Trek. They changed owners. But he knows everything about bikes. Who's the next Washington Hall of Famer? Hasim asked. A current group? Well, I mean, Kerrigan, I guess you could say, but I don't think Kerrigan will make it. Jacoby's not in because people are stupid. That's basically my only thing to say anymore. If you only had one site in D.C. to recommend, what would it be? Well, Lincoln Memorial, probably the most iconic, I would say, and you can interact with it better than, say, the White House. Capitol's pretty cool, though, too. Once they're just starting to let people back in. Best place to eat in La Plata, I asked Paul. Texas Ribs, not the Texas Roadhouse, Texas Ribs, just beyond Route 6. A friend of mine owns it. Great food. It's on the right. Can't miss it, about a mile past La Plata. Who do I prefer, CJ or Bryce? I don't know. That's a good one. Scott, I predict we will never see another Redskins go in the Hall. I mean, Kerrigan, when he retired, somebody said the last great Redskin. I thought, wow, that would be such a great book to write, The Last Great Redskin. But there's no money in that one, so I'm not going to. There's money in this one, maybe, but not that one. Not a lot of money in this one. Not a lot of money in books anymore. Kirk Cousins will get into the Hall of Fame based on stats. Small guy says. I don't think so. Got stats, but I don't think he'll get in. Any chance Ron gets fired before the end of the season? It's Commander Central. Nah, I don't think so. I mean, it would take something really weird to happen. Snyder would really need to scapegoat somebody and do that. Trent's going in, but he won't be a Redskin, correct? Honest Brute. Ooh, like the name. I'll check out Bike Doctor. There you go. Ask for Eric when you're there. And he'll take care of you. They do a great job there. I don't know much about bikes except I ride them. But Eric does. Let's see. Rufio, if you don't have a Super Bowl wins, you have to be really good like Marino. Well, it definitely helps. That's why so many Steelers got in. I mean, a lot of great players, but the 4 rings for a lot of guys made a difference on there. Well, yeah. Oh, we're at 9 o'clock already. We'll go overtime. We've got a lot of people here. I'll still do it. I got nowhere to go, except my eyes look like they're ready to close. Would I trade Payne before he walks in free agency? Paul asked. Yes, because it's not going to make a difference in winning this year. And if you can get something for him, something real, not a 7th-round pick, but if you could get something like a third or even a 5th, yeah, I would, because they're not going anywhere this year. So grab a pick or maybe a player, but he's a free agent, so it's kind of one of those sign and trade deals. Rumor has it Phillip Rivers gets in, says Ball Guy. I wouldn't do it for Phil. He had great stats, but no. Rate Carson Wentz for the first 5 games, 0-10. Commanders cap Central 7. Have you heard the Commanders song? Marvin asked. Yeah, I think they sing it really weird. Left hand up. Who are we, the Commanders? Okay. All right. I think overall they should have just scrapped the old Hail to the Redskins thing and just, you want to be a new name, go be a new name. It didn't work as well on there. So I would start something new. Scott says, thanks, bright spot of the pathetic reign of Washington football. Thank you. I try to be. I used to be mean, but I'm getting old. So now I try to be nice. Rufio says, thanks also. Thank you. Do I miss the Redskins name? Joe said. Yes. I like the Redskins name. I didn't see it as offensive. Sorry if I'm not woke, but I didn't see it as offensive. Nobody ever. I asked my old friends in Washington about this. When have you ever heard somebody down the street yelling at somebody saying, you blanking Redskin? Never. It wasn't used in that context. It was outsiders who were trying to tell us we were too ignorant to know better. I don't think so. Oh, man. Raiders are up 14-0. Andy, what's going on with that? They're cheating! Okay, I'll go with that. If you can't win, you always blame the other side of cheating. It's a political thing. All right, Washington Waterloo, commanded by Napoleon. There you go. Could you imagine if I had Napoleon as a team mascot? Funnier highlights. Heath with his helmet stuck sideways on his head, or Gus headbutting the stadium. I didn't see the sideways thing, but and Gus was just weird on that deal. I remember that. And then Michael took his helmet off and cost him a touchdown, Westbrook. Would I bring Chase back if you keep losing? Yeah, if he's ready to play, sure. They're paying him. Go play. As long as he's not, his health is good. Do I think Heath could have played in today's NFL? Asked Sean. No, he couldn't keep up with speed. It's even faster today, more complex today. And Heath had a lot of talent, but he couldn't keep up with speed of linebackers, and he kept throwing picks in practice and all. And Marcus Patton gave him a black eye once in practice. He was so tired of this. Well, I'll be publishing my Breeders' Cups pick in November, Don asked. Maybe. I am moving that week. So moving November 1st. No show October 31st. Just can't get to it that day. Otherwise, I'm always here on Mondays. But that week, I'm taking kind of a few days away. So I'll probably watch. Hopefully, my cable will be set up. I might tweet out a couple picks, but that'd be about it. Brian says the way the Commanders are playing is offensive. Well, that's one offense they have at least. Anna says, any coordinators out there you might consider ideal head coach and Bieniemy and all those. I don't know. I'm going to think about that later in the season. I got enough on my mind. Think Dotson gets Rookie of the Year. If he only misses 2 games and so he plays a lot more, have a chance. Keeps catching touchdowns. Nice player. Joe Schuler was on the Saints, right? And that's where he had his helmet sideways. Yeah, I talked to Heath, because we knew each other really well as a beat writer. I said, dude, go to Green Bay. It'll be better for your career. But he wanted to play in New Orleans and play right away, and he got hurt, and that was the end of that. Should he bring back Farrell's ice cream parlor, Ball Guy? Well, if they bring back the pig trough, yes. If you've ever been around, they go, man, the light. I did it once. The lights are going crazy. Everybody's be a pig, just like on the Griswolds, And it was a lot of ice cream. I probably could eat it back then. I don't remember. But I ate at the one at Landover Mall, which is right by the stadium. Okay, so Marvin says, remember when Danny Brown wasn't done? Yeah. Hasn't done anything last week. Yeah, I did a video on my, I do videos in the morning and evening on YouTube. And I did one the other day. It said, this is the day for Diami Brown to step up. And there he did it big time. He stays in the NFL off of those 2 picks for a while. Sean said he loved Redskins guard Trey Johnson. Was he hog worthy? If he had played with better teams, probably. He was a hog. He now is a teacher. Bright guy. He had his master's degree in in 4 years at Temple. He also had a bachelor's and a master's. It was pretty cool on that. Let's see. Steve says he could be wrong. Okay, you're wrong. We thought it was Heath. We'll say you're wrong. Profanity gets your comment automatically moderated, says Michael. There you go. Michael rules. He's the boss on these things. Plus, I don't like to curse on YouTube because then YouTube would penalize me. So that's why I don't. I mean, I can cuss with anybody, but not when it comes to the money, on there. And I have grandkids now, so I have to be better about things because nothing's worse than having a young grandchild say a profanity. And and everybody blames me. So I'm trying to really not do that. Oh, the chat does it? Okay, I didn't know that. George Stark's still around DC. Last I saw, but I haven't seen him in a while. COVID, man. I didn't see anybody for 2 years, it seems, Paul. But, we were all isolated so much. It's kind of a gap in our minds anymore on there. Let's see. All right. I don't know what's on TV tonight. Anybody watching Lord of the Rings sequel? I think it sucks. The last one's coming on. They spent all this money on that. It looks nice, but it sucks. But the Game of Thrones one, the dragon one, that's got some potential because they're beheading each other now. I want my dragons and Game of Thrones to be stabbing each other. I don't care about the other stuff. Let's go hit it. Is there a Skins player I really disliked? Asked Sean. Ooh, yeah, quite a few, but God, I hate getting into that now. But you're not many. 99% are good guys. It's my whole family Commanders fans. Commanders asked. I have 2 daughters, and they don't care about sports, and my wife doesn't either. So not enemies, but and the grandkids are still too young for me to really teach them this yet, but they will be. Michael doesn't even own a TV. What are you, Amish? Come to this century. Dre, I would take the 99 team over 07 and 12 playoffs teams. Yes, I would agree with that, Dre. 99 team was a good team. Had a chance to do something, but screwed it up. Don, what's your thought about a high school football team? I saw it 112-16 last week. And I think the coach should be I have to see what the score was because I know I saw a coach, they would run side to side trying to run out the clock and not score. And the losing coach was infuriated over this. He said, you disrespected us. And, but I've seen guys score a lot and they say, listen, that's my 5th string running back who never gets a chance to play. How am I supposed to tell him not to score maybe the only touchdown of his high school career? It's up to them to stop us. I agree. Now, I don't know how they were scoring. Were they just running the ball through or were they throwing deep? That's a big thing there too. If they're just running and the other team can't stop them, then that's their fault. Best offensive, defensive players so far this year for Washington, I will say Allen, and offensively, Samuel. Ball guy, do I think the severe indictment on Ron is because of how quickly Philly and New York turned it around? Certainly, that's part of it. Yeah. Ever try a hot dog at FedEx Field? Paul asked. I've never had food at FedEx Field outside of the press box, so I don't know if you're eating a different hot dog than we are. I used to eat them, and then last year when I got sick, I gave up things. So I think I've had a hot dog once in the past year somewhere. But trying to stay, some of you noticed I've lost a little weight, lost 35. I need to lose more, but trying to eat better. I had a salad at lunch today. I eat a little pizza because, life is short and you got to eat something you like once in a while. But I'm in the search for great pizza. And I might have a new YouTube show next year about pizza with a couple friends of mine. We go see some different pizza spots around town. We'll do a weekly show. So that's a possibility coming up next year. And we might do, I have a show I'm developing called 52 Questions with God, where we do a weekly show, one question with the cleric. And it's not the usual questions you might think, because that'd be boring. I got new questions. And hopefully I don't get smited. for being a wise guy. But I've got some different shows on YouTube. Things are starting to pick up. We're over 3,000 subscribers. Things are moving on. Michael mentions turkey dogs. Yeah. Sean says Stephen Davis or Terry Allen. Stephen Davis. Stephen Davis was better than Terry Allen. Terry Allen was tough. Stephen Davis was tougher. Stephen Davis is a really good running back. Hard knocking guy. So I put Stephen right up there after Rigo, maybe Stephen, over Clinton Portis. That would be mine. Do I like thick crust or deep dish pizza? Paul asks. I like both, but I'll say deep dish more. But I like both. Great White Tubi. Why did we get the ball in the 2? Yeah, I don't know if he was in the end zone on that one. Daryl Green or Champ? Ask them. Daryl. Champ was great. Daryl's better. Am I a turducken fan? I don't think I've ever had it, Sean. I might have. Trying to think. I've eaten a lot in my life. There were 5 straight Thanksgivings that I had to cover the DC Inter High Championship. Believe that? And that was back in the 80s. And I missed Thanksgiving every year. It sucked. Who would hire the next head coach if Ron's fired? It won't be Jason Wright. He's the money guy, not a football guy. At least at this point, unless Dan Snyder wants him to do it. On there. Let's see. Oakland's up 17-0. All right. I thought they'd be better than they have been. But Kansas City hit and miss, I guess, this season. Sometimes great, sometimes not. Wow. All right. We got to wind down this thing. Hit the thanks button for me, guys. Let's wrap this up and we'll make some money. Do I talk to Pat Fisher? Haven't in a little while, Paul, but Pat Fisher, great guy. Great guy. I mean, he's down to about maybe 5'6", 100 pounds. And, people think when I say he's a football player, they think I'm lying. There's nothing left of him. But wonderful man. Big believer with God now, talks a lot about stuff. Good guy. We all should. On there. And Pew Pew 22 botched. Okay. I don't know what that was. All right. So anyway, Commander's book. 100 Things. Or you can get the old Redskin one, too. You can get that on Amazon. I don't have any more. But if you want to buy the Commanders one, buy it for Monumental Thoughts for me on there. My favorite game I saw as a fan, the Denver Super Bowl victory. I didn't cover it live. I was around the team, but I didn't cover it live. So I just sat on my couch and watched, and that was awesome. Doing that. Sean says, thanks. I appreciate it. Marvin says, ring the bell. I'm just trying to see any late tips jars want to come through before I ring the bell. Like I said, if you don't want me to wear a shirt, kick in a few bucks. That would be the best fundraiser we have. I'll wear my shirt during Beating the Books on Saturday mornings where I pick all the games and I usually stink. Does anyone else ring my bell, Sean? No, nobody else touches the bell but me. Nobody else here anyway. My wife's not sitting here listening to this nonsense. She can't believe people make money or do this for a living. And we've only been married 42 years. But she's like, she don't want to talk about this. Commander said, oh, home fans only have Dan. Yeah. What can I tell you, dude? Maybe they'll get better. It's got to get better. You can outlive them. Okay. People older than him, chances are we're not outliving him. So you will see the day when the clouds leave. Can Andy ring the bell? Well, for $20, you can ring the bell. Anybody, I'll ring it in your honor. $20 and I'll say your name and ring the bell. How about that? 10, I'll say your name but not ring the bell. Well, maybe. Any tip that comes through in the next 5 minutes, I'll say your name on there and ring the bell. Like that. Nice clear ring. So people say, how do you start a YouTube channel? Well, you buy a bell for $5 and I bought some markers for $5 and that was it. Is Kenny Houston still around? I'm trying to think. Don't know on that one, Steve. Wow, Steve made it all the way to the end here. When we're an hour and 19 minutes. So hour 20, 80 minutes. You guys are still cranking. Still got as many followers as we had. How you like that? All right. Like I said, the bell's warmed up. Anybody wants to throw a tip jar in there, I'll ring the bell as part of the tip jar. If you want to go listen to Rick Snider as the singer, that's not me, but kind of looks a little bit like he could be me on there, like Andy Reid too. Andy, how's the score going? Awful. Sorry, Andy. Like that. I don't know. And everybody, if for those of you who don't know the joke, people swear I look like Andy. I put on the red stuff and all. I look like Andy a little bit. Since I lost weight, not quite as much. It's Commander Central. Thoughts on Ron's comments press today? I thought they were poorly. I thought he did a poorly job of it. He talked on both sides of an issue, and it's not good. I think he just doesn't understand why people second guess so much. I think he's not had. I don't think the Washington media is tough. I think it's fair, but those questions come, and he doesn't really like it. Most coaches don't, but whatever. He doesn't yell at you. I used to have coaches yell at me a lot, and we'd battle it out. But we'd battle it out in the back room where all the people didn't see it, and that was man to man, and I was fine with that. So, whatever. All right. I guess nobody's going to pay to ring the bell here, huh? Sean says Ron seems out of touch. I don't know if that. I don't know. I'd have to really sit down with Ron to understand that. That kind of access doesn't really happen much, to know him that way. It takes a while. I like Ron personally. I think he's a good man. I just think they need a new coach. Marvin says, I never liked Rivera hiring. He got fired for a reason. Well, most of these coaches, they keep their own, bunch of guys. So you kind of know that. All right, I give up. You guys aren't going to hit the tip jar. So thank you all for coming. Appreciate it. It's every Monday, 8 to 9 Eastern. At least the next couple, and then I got Halloween off. We all get trick or treat. I'm not going trick or treating, but that's the night before I move, and I'm too busy to do anything. So thanks, Steve, for coming, and thanks, Commander Central. All right, for coming. A lot of you guys have been with me every week. I appreciate it. That's why I do this, to let you guys have some fun and talk about things and tell some stories, and most of them are true, kind of thing. If you want to come on tour in Washington, you can always email me. We're starting to see some tourists again until Thanksgiving, then everybody too busy, Christmas. And then it's too cold until spring. But we made some money this year. It helps. It helps when you get laid off 6 times in 7 years like me. You do what you got to do, and that's why I do this on there. So I was thinking about I wasn't sure if I'm not sure I can do a Friday night chat, so maybe next Monday we'll do it again. I was thinking about my Friday. If I do, I'll post something, but I kind of doubt it. I'm busy getting ready for this move. Joe, thanks for everything. Brian, you too, and Sean. I feel like the romper room lady again. I see everybody. And Paul thinks coaches are afraid to come here. I would say it's not their first choice. All right. Class is out of session. Wow, that bell sucked. There you go. I'm Rick Snider for Rick Snider's Washington. Thank all of you for coming. If you're watching on replay, it'll be up again in a few minutes. You can see the whole show. More people watch it on replay and watch live. So who knew that, on this? So we have growing audience. Watch the videos in the morning and evening, 2 minutes, So that's enough. All right. Thank you guys so much for coming. I'll see you again next week.